Good afternoon. My name is Jose Nunez, and my philosopher is Benedict Baruch Spinoza. Spinoza was born on November 24th, 1632 in Amsterdam, where his family had settled after fleeing from the religious persecution they had endeavored in Portugal. He was the only male of the three children of Miguel and Ana Spinoza. Spinoza's father was a successful merchant, as well as an active in civic affairs. Tragedy struck Spinoza at the age of 6, when his mother died. This was not the end of his losses at an early age, for he would lose his father and one of his sisters by the time he was in his early 20s. Spinoza's education began with religious studies, including instruction in Hebrew, liturgy, Torah, prophetic writings, and rabbinical commentaries in his congregation's academy, the Talmud Torah school. He showed a facility in languages as well as he mastered Spanish, Portuguese, Dutch, Hebrew, Latin, Greek, and German. Spinoza began rejecting traditional readings of scripture, pointing out that the scriptures do not support the existence of angels or that the soul is immortal, some of the foundations upon which his congregation truly valued. On July 27, 1956, Spinoza was expelled by his congregation on charges of atheism, for he committed abominable heresies and monstrous deeds. Spinoza calmly accepted these charges and Christianized his name to Benedict. Spinoza would work as a teacher in a private academy in Amsterdam for the next 4 years. Spinoza would later move to a suburb of a place called The Hague, where he would spend the rest of his short life working as a lens grinder. Spinoza died in The Hague at the age of 45 on February 20th, 1677. During his time as a professor, Spinoza spent his time pursuing his interests in mathematics, physics, and politics. Spinoza decided to go on a retreat from Amsterdam to a cottage in Rijnsburg to formulate his thoughts in writing. He wrote 3 works during this period, of which include a short treatise on God, man and his well-being, and Descartes' Principles of Philosophy. Spinoza would later develop his ideas, which would later be found in his greatest work, The Ethics. Spinoza was one of the most important 17th century rationalists, following Descartes' insights. His philosophy revolves around a geometrically inclined system, where proofs and axioms support the conclusions he makes. Spinoza's most famous work is Ethics, in which Spinoza uses reason to demonstrate the truth about God, nature, and ourselves. The Ethics is irrevocable evidence of Descartes' mathematical influence, as Spinoza writes the book in the style of a geometrical treatise. It is similar to Euclid's Elements, in which all books of ethics have a set of definitions, axioms, prepositions, conclusions, etc. The first book of ethics was read in order to understand the foundation of his philosophy, upon which an interesting subject arises in his first book of ethics, concerning God. The work begins with several definitions that provide clear concepts upon which ground the rest of his system. Spinoza builds axioms using these definitions to come to a conclusion that God is the only substance. For example, in Axiom 1, he states that whatever is either a substance or in a substance, then everything else must be God. Whatever is in God, and nothing can be or be conceived without God. This is his preliminary conclusion, as his true objective is to define God. Spinoza claims Those who feign a god, like man, consisting of a body and a mind, and subject to passions, but how far they wander from the true knowledge of God is sufficiently established by what has already been demonstrated. In other words, Spinoza defined God as the substance of everything, thus leading him to claim that God is anything and everything that exists. The idea of an anthropomorphic God would have the deleterious effects on human freedom and activity. God is the cause of all things, therefore extensions and parts of God. The term God may be used interchangeably with nature, as it is that God that Spinoza describes. Today, Spinoza's idea of God corresponds to pantheism, that states that nature itself is God, as well as everything that exists is too part of the totality that Spinoza calls God. I myself am more attracted to pantheism, even though I am Catholic under conviction. Spinoza's idea of God resonates with my idea of God, as I believe that everything that exists is a component of nature, or in this case, God. I think Spinoza truly understood the unity of the order, or chaos, in existence. I believe he is right in that no Judeo-Christian God exists, for we would never be ethically free. In other words, we wouldn't be free at all. I don't think that the universe was created just so that it could be dominated. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is my presentation of Benedict Baruch Spinoza. Thank you.